Welcome to episode 50 of our series on the origins and meanings of Appalachian and Southern surnames. Occasionally, I receive a comment that goes something like this. I've been living in Appalachia all of my life, but I've never heard of some of the names that you mention or feature on your show. Well, I must admit that some of the names on the show have escaped me too, and I've lived in 7 Appalachian and Southern states. So, there are thousands of names here. Today, we've covered 750 surnames, and there are 852 requested surnames still on the list to be covered. You might be interested to know that to produce one episode, it takes about an hour of work to get 1 minute of show digitized. In other words, a 10-minute episode takes 10 hours to research, produce, and record. To keep episodes coming, please help me grow the channel. You can do that by recommending the Vantage Point to like-minded folk and watch a commercial or two. YouTube really likes that activity. At any rate, each of the surnames that we'll cover today was requested by members of our YouTube community. To make our task more manageable, we're focusing on pre-Civil War families. That's because in the years following the Civil War, America entered the Industrial Revolution, and thousands of different families moved from the South and Appalachia to the Rust Belt and other places out west, like California, while foreign immigrants settled across the country. On today's show, we'll investigate the origins and meanings of 9 Appalachian and Southern surnames. To disentangle their origins, we'll look back to medieval Ireland, Wales, England, Scotland, Scandinavia, France, and Germany. I hope you'll join me. Let's get started. Number 1, Shamblin or Chamblin. This French toponymic was once common in northern France, but it seems to be rare there nowadays. Since it's not found among the traditional surnames of England, Scotland, or Ireland, I think it most likely came straight to America from France. But it could also be like my mother's family name, Voiles or Voyer. It was found among the Huguenots in Wales and England, but it didn't stay in the Isles for more than a generation or two. I think we can be confident that Shamblin or Chamblin is a French surname. Number 2, Norwood. When I received the request for Norwood, I couldn't help but remember living in Norwood. A large portion of my hometown of Oliver Springs is called Norwood. In fact, Norwood became part of Oliver Springs after Mayor Harry Van Sr. worked to have it annexed back in the 1960s. Harry was my grandfather. He wanted to annex Norwood because a car was struck by a train at a railroad crossing in Norwood. Unfortunately, the man died as his car was consumed by flames. Norwood had no public services like a like a fire department or police department, so no one came to the man's rescue. Papa vowed that such a thing wouldn't happen again on his watch. At any rate, when I was a kid, I thought that because my street's name was 2nd Norway Lane, Norwood had to have something to do with Norway. Alas, such was not the case. Norwood is an English name for one who dwelled in the North Woods. That makes sense, doesn't it? It's not found among the traditional surnames of Ireland and Scotland or Wales, so I think we're safe in calling Norwood an English surname. Number 3, Jarvis or Jervis. I never saw the origin and meaning of Jarvis coming today, folks. I swear I didn't. So I was a bit surprised and happy to see that Jarvis was actually originally a French name called Gervais. It's a French toponymic, it's a French toponymic, but it's also Teutonic before that. That's Northern Europe, Germanic. Why am I happy about Gervais? Well, it's because one of my favorite comedians, who's definitely not politically correct, is Ricky Gervais. I love watching him put virtue-signaling celebrities in their place at the Golden Globe Awards every year. I hope you do too, because it's pretty fun, really. Jarvis is found in England, and it's been in Ireland since the 14th century. I think you'll need a paper trail to locate the origin of your line of Jarvis. You should note that it's probably not cool to change your name to Gervais, though. Not many people know the connection between Gervais and Jarvis, but now you do. Number 4, Ramsey. Southern Appalachia was a contested space during the Civil War that raged from 1861 to 1865. One of the most prominent pro-Confederate families in East Tennessee was the Ramsey family of Knox County. A Scots-Irishman named Colonel Francis Alexander Ramsey built his plantation home in 1797 near Knoxville. But when Union forces took over the city, the Ramseys fled the area and later sold the home in 1866. Today it's a historic site that receives thousands of visitors. It's just 29 miles from Dollywood, so you should check it out the next time you're in the region. Now, according to Ancestry.com, through the lines function, I'm a descendant of the Ramseys, but I never heard any family stories about them, so who knows for sure. Ramsey is linguistically an Anglo-Scandinavian toponymic from Hram's Island. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I'm probably not. So I'll put the spelling up here. The name of Scotland was introduced by a transplanted Huntingdonshire English family. That's down near Cambridge in East Anglia. It's been in the Scottish records, though, since 1170s. According to MacLysick, Ramsey came into Ireland from Scotland, so it could well be a Scots-Irish name like Colonel Francis Ramsey. At the end of the day, I think a paper trail would serve you well in locating the origin of your specific line of Ramsey. Number 5, Truman. As a former resident of Missouri and a fan of 20th century American and European history, it was hard not to have an image of Harry S. Truman pop up in my mind when I read this request. You might find this bit of trivia interesting. Maybe not, but I hope so. The man who ended World War II, Truman, did not graduate from college, but he did graduate from high school, which was probably more credible than a bachelor's degree is today. How about that? Nonetheless, Truman was the last non-college graduate to serve as president. Looking back across the centuries, the first person with this surname to enter the historical records was Thomas Truman, Truman, but it looks like Truman. He appears in the 100 Rolls, which was the second major census conducted in what's now England and parts of Wales. It was completed in 1284 by order of King Edward I, or Edward the Longshanks of Braveheart fame. In addition to the English Truman surname, there is a Jewish and Latvian version spelled as Truman, but the spelling of Harry's surname is most likely from the English, as its sound suggests it meant a faithful man. Truman is not found among the traditional names of Ireland and Wales, but it appears in the Scottish records as Truman. Its presence in Scotland is not extensive, though, so I think that Truman is really an English surname. Number 6, Bragg. Continuing on with the last name of a former commander-in-chief, we'll stay with the military for number 6. Most folks likely know that there is a Fort Bragg, North Carolina. It was named after Confederate General Braxton Bragg. Now, I'm amazed that no one has protested the name of that facility, at least I'm not aware of any protests. Since it's an airborne and special ops base, would-be protesters might not like their lack of a warm reception, if you know what I mean. The surname Bragg is derived from the Old English personal name Brago. It means chief or prince. Bragg isn't found among the traditional surnames of Ireland or Scotland, so I think we should consider Bragg an English surname. Number 7, Sloan. If you have an interest in all things Appalachia, you might have heard of Eastern Kentucky's Verna Mae Sloan, the author of What My Heart Wants to Tell. I quote her in my book, Rediscovering the South's Celtic Heritage. Writing about people who are critical of Appalachian and Southern folks, including one who's called us deplorables, Verna Mae observed that, and I quote, "They have taken our pride and our dignity and have disgraced us in the eyes of the outside world. When our children go into the cities for work or are drafted into the army, they're forced to deny their heritage, change their way of talking, and pretend to be someone else, or be made to feel ashamed when they really have something to be proud of." End of quote. Thanks, Verna Mae. Now, Verna Mae's surname originated in Northern Ireland, or Greater Ulster. In Irish Gaelic, it's spelled. Now, unless a Sloan married a Protestant from Scotland, their offspring would not have been considered Scots-Irish. They would have been simply Irish or Anglo-Irish. Sloan meant leader of a military force. It's found in Scotland and England, but it's not common in Wales. I think we can be confident that Sloan is an Irish surname, but your ancestors may have had some English and Scottish cultural and genetic influences. Number 8, Nichols. Nichols means the son of Nickel. Strictly speaking, this surname is a diminutive of the Greek Nicholas or Nicholas. So it has spelling variations that extend from Ireland in the west to the Black Sea in the east. Because of the Greek Orthodox Church, Nicholas is also found further north in Russia and its neighboring countries. At the end of the day, we, on the Vantage Point, are interested in Appalachian and Southern surnames with an emphasis on pre-Civil War families. I think we can dismiss the Eastern European surnames. Still, Nicholas is found across the Isles, so I think you'll need a paper trail and probably a Y chromosome DNA test to at least zero in on the origin of your line of Nichols. DNA will help you eliminate Eastern Europe as a place of origin for your line of Nichols if your family came from the British Isles. Number 9, Hammond. Do you know the title of a movie in which a character named Hammond repeatedly claims that he spared no expense? Now, I'm not going to mention its name in this video, but I'll be interested to see how many of you, if any of you, know the answer. Please put it in the comment section. At any rate, Hammond is an Old English and Scandinavian surname that was probably worn by a Viking in the Danelaw. It meant high chief or chief protector. Hammond was introduced into Ireland by the Normans and later movements of English folks into the Emerald Isle. It's not found among the traditional surnames of Wales or Scotland. Consequently, in our neck of the woods, Hammond is either an English or Anglo-Irish surname that has linguistic roots among the Vikings. Well folks, that's all I have for you today. I hope you got something helpful out of our discussion. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Oh yeah, please let me know in the comments section if you'd like to see a video on JFK's PT-109 experience. If demand warrants it, I'll be back soon with another episode on the surnames of Appalachia and the American South. I hope to see you then. God bless you and yours. Bye-bye.